Hello there and welcome to BizTalk. I'm Chenlei in Beijing. The word luxury means different things to different people. To some, it means the enviable lifestyles of the rich and famous. To others, it means craftsmanship and heritage. Post-pandemic, will less is more become the new mantra for the luxury brands industry? Well, joining us from his home in London is someone who knows a lot about the luxury industry, Mr. François-Henri Pinault, who is the CEO of luxury giant Kering Group. Welcome to the show, Mr. Pinault.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
So, you grew up in a French billionaire's family. What does luxury mean to you? And what's your favorite luxury object, if you have one?
Oh, well, luxury is more of a lifestyle. No, it's all about self-confidence, self-expression that we give to our customers. It's the way of life, the way of taking care of certain values that counts very much. I love that, this combination of one of the best design with the best human technology and all is mechanical in a watch, in an haute horlogerie watch. That's for me something that is the utmost luxury. But it has to be very well balanced between the design, the technology, the functionality. That's something I like very much. And I look, not only I wear my watch, but I also look at them.
This is what luxury looked like before the pandemic. This is now. From 2009 to 2019, the personal luxury goods market almost doubled, surging from 147 billion euros to 281 billion euros. Analysts predict that this pandemic will set the industry back 6 to 9 years economically. Recovery to pre-COVID levels is likely to be somewhere between 2022 and 2023. Millions of jobs are at stake, from factory workers, store employees to craftsmen. Luxury companies must act swiftly to plan for the recovery. And with so many months of lockdowns, it means a lot of unsold merchandise. What are you doing with your overstock? Is it through discounting? Are you gifting to customers?
Well, the lockdown occurred in Italy mid-March and early March. And at this point, not all the collection was produced. So the spring-summer collection that was to be delivered in stores was not completely produced. So the situation is not as bad as it seems in terms of inventory. Of course, there is an issue because we were not able to sell what was produced yet. So what we decided across the brand is to give a longer horizon to the spring-summer collection. So the spring-summer will last longer this year. And then the cruise collection, the pre-fall collection and cruise collection will start a little bit later this year. So that will help a lot to deal with the inventory situation. And then for the remaining product, we will go through a very controlled discount policy. I don't want to endanger my brand or to damage my brand by massively discounting product. That would be detrimental to the brand going forward.
Now, given that 40% of luxury production takes place in Italy, a lot of family workshops, how are they holding up? And are luxury brands supporting those small businesses?
Yes, because they are very, very important for our supply chain. And so we have put in place very recently, for instance, it's in the example of Gucci, a partnership with an Italian bank to make sure that our subcontractors who have financial difficulty may have access to financing very fast, in a very easy way for them. And it's a triangle between those little companies that we need to work with, the bank and Gucci. We will do whatever it needs to be done to help them, to support them and make sure that they grow with us.
And are you changing your supply chains so you're more nimble and you go from creator to consumer faster?
Well, we realized also that because of, when the lockdown occurred in Italy, not only the production facilities were locked, but also some of our logistic capabilities. Normally, we were shipping from the central warehouses to the regional warehouses, and from the regional warehouses to the stores. And it's true that the supply chain in terms of logistics has to be more flexible, more agile. For instance, because when China reopened faster than any other country in the world, our main priority was to make sure we had product available enough in the country.
Behind the global luxury market's power decade are Chinese consumers. They bought 40% of the world's luxury goods in 2019. That percentage could go higher post-pandemic. A McKinsey report shows that by 2025, Chinese consumers are set to contribute almost 2/3 of global growth in luxury spending. And the spending power of China has already been witnessed by Kering. So how big a recovery are you seeing in China? What sort of traffic is coming back to the offline stores?
Well, sales recovery has been very strong since April. We've been growing double-digit across the brands. So things are doing very well.
Double-digit year on year?
Yeah. So what we've been doing on one side is to make sure that we reconnect with our clients that used to shop abroad. And it's the case very much in China. So we are, for the last 2 months and a half, we've been reconnecting to those customers. And the result of that is very encouraging, because what we do offer them in China in terms of assortments, in terms of service, in terms of connection, is really at the best as we can do, and really comparable with what they had when they came to Paris, Milan, Rome, or London, for instance. No, we found new way in terms of CRM activities and distant connection with our customer. We're doing sales through video connection with our customers, for instance. So things are going in the right direction.
But does this mean that you will be slowing down your previous expansion plans into lower tier cities in China? Will you be going more online?
No, the strategy is the same. We need to be reachable through the different channels that the customer are using right now. WeChat in China, the mini program of WeChat has been working very well. And the e-commerce activities, for instance, Gucci has been growing triple digit on e-commerce in China recently. So this is, of course, something that we are benefiting now. But this is very complementary with the stores. People still want, and they all have the nostalgia of coming back to stores. The experience of a luxury brand is and will be mostly in stores. So at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we have the right stores with the right experience to offer to our customers.
As other countries exit lockdown, are you expecting a lot weaker recoveries?
Let's take, for instance, Western Europe, where a very significant part of the business was brought by tourists.
Asia,
so
yes.
This part will partly disappear for a year or two. We will enjoy only the continental traveling between European countries, of course, but this will not offset what was done by international travels. So, of course, that part will be something on which we have to work with local customers. And this is, in those, over the last, let's say, 20 years, the rise of luxury was very much driven by the new customers coming from Asia. And for brands that were born and developed themselves mostly during that period of time, it's true that going forward, I think we have a potential on local customers that it's still been untouched by our brand. So I'm quite confident, even though at start we won't have a strong recovery because we're missing international travelers.
In America, yes?
In America, the share of tourism is lower. than Western Europe, for instance. So I expect in America, considering all the support that the U.S. Central Bank will brought to the economy that has been announced by the government in America, that we may have a recovery, significant recovery in America going forward, despite, of course, short-term what's happening in America through the protests.
Coming up next, can the luxury industry go green?
I really do believe that luxury is one of the many answers. Luxury is all about sustainability.
And how do venerable old brands win the hearts of the new generation?
We are very well positioned with those new generations.
.360-degree profiles of industry movers and shakers, tech mavericks, and policymakers. We drill down on their success. We ask how they set strategy and how they navigate in an increasingly competitive market. Real talk, real business. Join the conversation. BizTalk, only on CGTN.
Luxury shopping used to be about opulent stores, immaculate service, and go hand in hand with overseas travel. Now that's come to a halt because of travel restrictions and store closures. Luxury is moving online and quickly. Something they were doing before the pandemic, in line with consumer behavior trends and to get closer to the younger generation. According to Bain Company, Gen Y and Gen Z are expected to make up 150% of total growth of the luxury market by 2025. Following this trend, Gucci landed at TikTok this year, introducing Accidental Influencers, a series of short videos showing their efforts to integrate younger elements and TikTok DNA into the brand. Other brands are going on to similar platforms.
Now, before you mentioned that you want Kering Group to represent modern luxury, and we know that younger consumers go for niche brands, they want something different all the time, they're fickle. So how do you get them to buy into your philosophy? How do you maintain their loyalty?
Well, you know, it's always, this is why when I say a bold and modern luxury, it's because we put creativity at the center. For me, this modern luxury is all about creativity and craftsmanship, but creativity first. And this is what creates the links with all generation, and particularly over the last few years with the younger generation that have an appetite for luxury. And again, what resonates with them is the sincerity of your creativity. It's not just a marketing gimmick. It has to be sincere. And they feel it very much. And the way we express that creativity through the product, of course, but also through our storytelling, through our messages going towards them on the digital network, we are very well positioned with those new generations.
Now let's talk about the paradox, affordable luxury. Some younger Chinese consumers take out loans to buy luxury products. You know, to you, what would be a healthy attitude to luxury?
Well, you know, I really do believe that luxury is one of the many answers, but one of the significant answers to sustainability. Luxury is all about sustainability. It's embedded in the notion, at least in my group, in the notion
it's about buying less but better.
Of luxury. So, yeah, consume less, but consume better. And in a way of consuming better, sometimes buying luxury goods answer that. And I think young customers understood that. So rather than buying frequently mid-price or low-price products that doesn't last, poor quality, fake creativity, why don't you wait a little bit and buy very nice luxury product that is, of course, more expensive. But so that's a shift of mindset for customers, but I think this is the way to look at luxury.
While we all enjoy the pleasures of new clothes, fashion shouldn't cost the earth. The textile industry is responsible for 1.2 billion tons of CO2 equivalent per year, according to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. About a fifth of mass-produced clothing doesn't even sell and ends up being buried or burned. Whether it's longer-lasting luxury or fast fashion, they're coming together on sustainability. The new generation of consumers want to associate with brands that stand for their values, and the pandemic might accelerate the shift towards a less wasteful fashion industry.
So we know that Kering is trying to do its part for sustainability, and you're also leading a pact in the industry to improve sustainability. But as you know, the industry is founded on people buying things. How does that reconcile with the goal of sustainability?
Well, you know, the Fashion Pact is we have gathered probably almost 40% of the total fashion industry, not just luxury, and total fashion industry around the table, and we all committed to the three areas on science-based targets, being the biodiversity, protection of the ocean, or the climate change action plan. So on that, we will, and we already found some solutions, and going forward, I'm pretty sure we will deliver those targets.
Isn't your Gucci creative director saying that there will be less seasons and less fashion shows?
Yeah, but I mean, there will be two very strong moments in the year where we will present the collections. But in terms of fashion shows, for sure, fashion shows are creative events where we not only we show the collection, but we forward a message, a creative message to our customers across the world. So it's a very important creative event. But again, inside the collection is very broad. So what you see on stage is a very small part of the collection. What is important is to make sure that the collection that is developed behind what you see on the runway could hit the stores at the right moment during the season. So giving the excitement to our customers all the year round. But it's true that in terms of events to display, instead of cutting the collection into smaller collection and showing all the time, this will be more concentrated in two important moments for women, and then brands could decide to put men and women together, so it's even less fashion shows to display, but it doesn't change the importance of the collection. You know, the crisis has amplified underlying trends that were there, and particularly in terms of sustainability.
Coming up next, are acquisitions in order for the world's second biggest luxury group?
We don't need acquisition to deliver growth. The size is not what I'm aiming at first. It's to be the most influential luxury group.
And will Kering be kept in the Pinault family?
If someone of the family will run the business, which I hope and I wish, it's because he has all the talents needed for that.
Each day, there are millions of stories. Each one can open new perspectives, new possibilities. Wherever you look, we are there to see, discover, explore. We put the pieces together to find what really matters to you, all around the world, all around the clock. Our reporters are at home across the globe. From our headquarters in Beijing and production centers in Washington, Nairobi, and London, China Global Television Network. Stories from across the globe, reaching people across the globe. CGTN. See the difference.
The timeline of the most iconic Kering-owned brands shows step by step how Kering has turned into one of the world's most valuable luxury goods conglomerates. Last year, Kering's revenues rose strongly to total almost 16 billion euros. Gucci is the star performer leading the growth, accounting for more than 60% of revenues. 2021 would mark the 100th anniversary of Gucci, and the Florence-founded brand seems to have much more runway to go.
Now, Kering is very much driven by growth in the Gucci brand. At this particular point in time, with quite possibly attractive assets around, are you looking at acquisitions to bolster your portfolio?
Well, as I said, we have a portfolio that has been built on a very strict criteria of complementarity, of having each brand with a very specific mission. Talking about product categories or segment of customers. So everything is very complementary in our portfolio. I don't want to deal with brand competing with each other. If those opportunities are strengthening the portfolio in terms of complementarity with our existing brands, we will make that move if we find that opportunity. But again, we have a situation that is very comfortable, which as I said, we don't need acquisition to deliver growth. So our top priority was still remain organic growth going forward for all our brands, starting by Gucci, of course.
And you've said that Gucci can give Louis Vuitton a run for its money. Why?
A run of his money? I don't
you think
understand
Gucci can become as big a brand as Louis Vuitton?
No, the thing is Gucci has the potential to grow and to reach a significant size, and we proved it over the last 4 years, since 2016 up to 2019, where the brand grew from 3 billion to 9 billion, above 9 billion. So yeah, Gucci is a brand that has the potential. We will continue to grow because the potential is there, and yeah, Gucci is Gucci is the spine of my group.
What's your goal for the group? Is it to become the world's largest luxury group?
No, it's not. No, because its size is not the most important thing. It's to be the most influential luxury group, and not only influential in terms of because the financials are great, but influential by our creativity, by our commitment to sustainability and to social responsibility. And maybe, let's dream a little bit, even outside and beyond the luxury industry in those different areas.
While François-Henri Pinault is famous in the business world, sometimes he's known as Mr. Salma Hayek, as the Hollywood star is more well known globally. The Pinault family ranks 27th in the most recent Forbes Rich list. François-Henri joined his father's business, originally called PPR, in 1987. After 18 years of experience, Mr. Pinault was appointed chairman and CEO in 2005. He changed the family business name to Kering, globalized, and sharpened the business focus to luxury.
Let's talk about your career. How did you go from studying tech, working in tech, and then to retail, and then creating this luxury empire?
That's a very long question to answer. Well, it's...
In 2 minutes.
I started my career in B2B activities, and then I moved to retail operations in technology, books, music, and then it was this. The group that my father built was a conglomerate. When I took over in 2005, it was a very important group in size, more than 20 billion euros of sales in 8 different divisions. And the smallest division was the luxury division that was acquired and built in the early 2000s. And in 2005, I asked myself, the logic of a conglomerate, when the world was not global, when it was the case at the time it was built, was that to diversify my risk, I need to do different businesses in a small geography. And this is how conglomerates were built. And I realized in 2005, 2006 that the world became global, and I could mitigate my risk by doing the same business, but in a broader geography. And this is how I decided, and the most international business I had in my portfolio at the time was the luxury business. So I decided to concentrate the group only on luxury and to develop massively my luxury activities across the world, and at the same time selling the other activities, which I did over between 2006 and 2010, 2012. And now we are a pure luxury group, a global group in terms of reach, in terms of geography, but really only focusing on the luxury activities.
And what about succession? We know that your father tapped you for the job and gave you a lot of leeway as a 40-year-old, but what about the next generation? Have you thought about that at all?
Yeah, I'm starting to, I'm getting a little bit older. I don't want, on one side, I don't want to push any of my kids to feel forced to do something that they think they have the duty of doing and not the pleasure of doing. So it will really very much depend on what they would like to do with their professional life. And on the other side, I will be like my father was. If someone of the family will run the business, which I hope and I wish, it's because he has all the talent needed for that. And if not, I will hire someone from the outside if necessary. But it will be, and I went through that. Before my father handed me the group, he had built a group of trustees, and asking them to see me every year, having one-to-one meetings with me to appraise, to make an assessment of my capability as they saw it, if I were capable of doing what I'm doing today. So I will apply the same thing. I think it's very important, not only for the group, but also for the members of the family that could be interested in running the group going forward.
Thanks so much for your time and conversation. That was Mr. François-Henri Pinault, the CEO of Kering Group, speaking to us from his home in London. We hope to see a more sustainable and, dare we say it, caring luxury industry going forward. After all, the pandemic has taught us that luxury doesn't have to be bought. It can be family, it can be love, and most of all, it's our health. So on that note, I'm going to end this episode of BizTalk. I'm Chenla in Beijing. See you next week.